ISO 20022. This is something that we have been following for quite some time. It is a standard that, in my opinion, is going to open up the door to blockchain being tapped in a big way around the banking system. With banks now having the green light around crypto, around stablecoins as well. I think that this is something that we should focus on even more now than ever before. But if we go back in time, ISO 20022, a lot of people were tying this back to XRP in a huge way. Today, we know that, and it was never really supposed to be, tied back to XRP, but today we know that ISO 20022 is not, extremely significant for, XRP's value or anything like that. But we do know that this standard puts a mandatory pressure on banks to innovate. They have to innovate, and if they don't, then they will start to actually be phased out. So ISO 20022 is going to be, for the first time in history, that mandate on banks to upgrade their systems. Now, what is the next upgrade? What are they going to upgrade to? Well, it's going to be DLT Rails blockchain, which is where we start to actually tie it back to XRP. And that's where we start to see the significance of this standard. This is opening the doors to blockchain and DLT adoption in a big way. But we also do have now a forecast on this. Now, this is the adoption around payment instructions that are ISO 20022. And we can see the adoption here. It's a little bit, scuffed, but over here we actually have a, very good view of it. So we can see that Q2 2025, they're saying 70%. The actual is 35%, so about half. And then by November 2025, 91%. Now that is a very significant amount, 91%. I would say probably about, like I said, 45% if we're going off of like the half point here from Q2 of 2025 to Q2 of 2025, the actual prediction, plus the forecasted top 175 originators. But what this is showing us is that we are starting to see the adoption picking up. I mean, you can see it from Q1 of 2024 to Q2 of 2025. So again, we're really kind of looking at that November 2025 timeframe. And the reason why is because this is kind of aligning with blockchain in a big way. Think about it, right? Stablecoin legislation is set to be in effect by the end of August. With the SEC and the crypto task force that they have in place, it's very, very interesting to watch as clarity becomes a reality around blockchain and crypto in the US, but also what the FSB told us, right? By the end of 2025, they are going to push a global crypto harmonized framework that is going to basically give clarity to the entire crypto industry. Now, we don't know if that's going to be the case. Some of these things do get delayed, but the FSB is working with the G20, the IMF, the BIS, and that's a group that I've been watching closely, especially with their global harmonized framework. But this is aligning with ISO 20022 adoption and the growing acceptance of this standard. Now, let's actually talk a little bit more about that by going over here to Smoke Dog's post. As ISO 20022 payment instructions become more common on the network, so will XRP's use cases within Swift compatible systems. The Earthport diagram shows XRP listed alongside Swift under payment instruction, which refers to the data used to move money, fiat or crypto. Ripple documents further confirm that XRP-based payments rely on ISO 20022 compliant instructions, ensuring interoperability with the Swift network. And we can actually see those images here, global connectivity, payment instructions on the left side. You have at the center point, Earthport, and then on the left, you have Swift and also Ripple in terms of that format transformation. Now, over here, we do have XRP to bridge local fiat currencies, fiat to fiat, quote on pricing and FX, with stablecoins becoming the big deal. The FX market's basically moving on chain. Makes sense for XRP to still be that bridge. And then on the right side, on the bottom, you have payment instructions as well. And then over here, integration module, ISO 20022, Ripple Net Payment Object Standards, which use the ISO 20022 PAX 0.008 message definition as a basis. This is all payment instructions, which we know that they are being adopted in a big way. Now, also, on top of this, what's happening around October of this year? Because again, this is all still based around stablecoins. We're still looking at, stablecoins becoming a big, focus here, because let's go back to that FX model, right? This is that FX model with XRP at the center point, being the bridge. Well, in October, we get the digital euro. Here we have President of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, says the ECB will decide on launching a digital euro by October of this year. Listen closely.
We have a cutoff date, which is October. So October 2025, my governing council has to decide whether we move forward or not. So that's an important date. My strong hope is that by then, the European Parliament has passed the legislation that will support the technological work, the policy work, the unified rule book that we are working on, so that we can launch.
Now, what I find interesting is the wording behind some of these launches, or any of the things that have kind of aligned perfectly with XRP. Like we've talked about the BIS with the CPMI group with XRP. That happened immediately after, back in 2023, the announcement of XRP not being a security happened. The CPMI group became a reality with Ripple. And the same thing kind of goes with, even today with all of these CBDC launches or digital euro launches or digital pound launches. Everything's aligning with a time frame. And what time frame is that following? Well, not only is it following things happening around XRP, because again, a lot of things are aligned with XRP, it's also aligning with regulations. If we go over here, this was the first announcement, which was March 13th, where Christine Lagarde said that the digital euro is more relevant than ever. This preparation phase ends in October, but the decision to issue it will only be considered once the necessary legislation is passed. Well, we already know that the EU has passed MiCA, but I do think that with a lot of things happening around legislation with CBDCs or digital euros and things like that, it's kind of following what the US is doing as well. I think that this is 100% a CBDC, number one. But number two, I think that with what the US is doing around stablecoin initiatives and around crypto, is starting to become very, very prevalent around the world, which is starting to make nations accelerate their initiatives. The digital euro being, launched in October would be absolutely insane, because what that would do is accelerate everything else after the fact. And by October, I would suspect that the US already adopts in, stablecoin initiatives in a big way. We are already opening our arms to every single stablecoin that is USD denominated and onshore, which means RLUSD and Ripple. But what this is also leading me to is Swift, right? Because again, this is a digital euro. They're saying that it's a CBDC. It's basically, a stablecoin, which is the same thing as a CBDC. I've talked about it on multiple occasions. But this is aligned with what Swift has been telling us too. Here we have their hackathon, right? 2025 hackathon. As digital currencies gain momentum, CBDC, stablecoins, and beyond, it's more urgent than ever before to demonstrate their benefits whilst ensuring interoperability, compliance, and efficient cross-currency flows. Okay, so now let's think about this. Ripple is a part of the Digital Euro Association. Back in 2022, they joined this. Ripple is a part of this group to not only create sort of, it's just test, right? They're testing certain things around a digital euro, the feasibility of a digital euro, the benefits of it, the efficiencies of it. So this is exactly what the Digital Euro Association is. The same thing goes with the Digital Pound Foundation, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the reason why I'm bringing this up and the reason why I'm talking about all of this is what Swift is now talking about with stablecoins, CBDCs, and cross-currency flows, efficient cross-currency flows. Let's go back to that image over here from Smoke Dog, which showed us the bridge between two currencies, how it is done in 3 seconds with one fixed rate. This is fast, cost-effective, reliable, and user-friendly. It's also fully transparent, absent of risk and volatility. This is huge. This solves the cross-currency flow problems that are plaguing traditional payments today. But on top of this, David Schwartz outlined back in 2021, XRP is an efficient bridge between two assets, including stablecoins and CBDCs.
XRP is an efficient bridge between two assets, including stablecoins and CBDCs. It's neutral, it's jurisdictionless, it's censorship resistant, it doesn't have any central counterparty that you need to trust, so it can be used as a sort of universal bridge. And blockchains are what provide that level playing field so that banks and regulators can live in a multi-asset future without having to deal with hundreds of different APIs, hundreds of different controllers or different rule sets. Thank you.
Now, he's not the only one to say this. If we actually go over here to Marcus Treacher, he also mentioned this back in 2023. Check this out.
Opportunity here with CBDCs running domestically and with a bridge asset, another cryptocurrency model, a bridge asset to connect those CBDCs together. The opportunity is to deliver liquidity on point in the moment, in microseconds, from one part of the world to another. And the model that we focus on is using XRP, which is a very high velocity and very high volume digital asset. It's a free floating asset, unlike a CBDC or stablecoin. Use it as a bridge currency between these CBDCs. So you imagine a world in future where there are, let's say, 180 individual CBDCs per jurisdiction in the world. Making markets between those CBDCs is quite challenging unless you have a common single point, the bridge currency, which then enables connections to be made more efficiently and markets to be made between these individual currencies. So you put that together with both a bridge currency between those CBDCs and the overriding ledger connection between the blockchains that run those CBDCs, and you are kind of redefining how value is moved cross-border. It's a complete departure.
And this is right on par with their, this is the Internet of Value push. But what's crazy about this is, think about what's happening today, right? Central banks are launching CBDCs. They're called digital euro, digital pound, whatever. At the same exact time that we have euro stablecoins, we have USD stablecoins, we have all these stablecoins. Even Swift is outlining this, right? We have CBDC stablecoins. We even have tokenized things of value. XRP, between anything of anything that has value tied to it, right? It could just be two assets. It doesn't have to be stablecoins or CBDCs. It could be two things that are tokenized. It could be two things that have value. Anything of value. Two things. XRP could be that efficient bridge. So think about how the use case of XRP gets reinforced with any stablecoin launch, with any CBDC launch. This is why I say even ROUSD. Like, a lot of people said, oh, ROUSD is going to kill XRP. No, it actually reinforces the use case of XRP. And then we think about, all of these launches. I put out a post on my X account on the 31st, right? And I said, the revolution of the financial system is upon us, and it's happening with Ripple, XRP, and stablecoins. In one single month, we witnessed confirmation of 4 stablecoins set to launch on the XRP ledger: USDB, BBRL, EuroP, XSGD as well. This isn't even mentioning the USV stablecoin from SocGen Forge or ROUSD. We are witnessing the $7.5 trillion per day Forex market moving on-chain in a huge way, and XRP is at the forefront. These stablecoin moves are accelerating faster than ever before, and I think everyone needs to be aware of how important stablecoins actually are. Most are just looking at the face value of stablecoins, but they unlock trillions in value, enable use cases like cross-border payments, tokenization, institutional DeFi, and so much more. This is the first puzzle piece to fall into place that will unlock tremendous amounts of utility and flood these networks like XRPL with trillions in value. It won't happen overnight, but we are watching these moves happen faster than ever before. And it's so exciting to see the shift in the crypto landscape. And yeah, this is, I mean, you got to think about it like this, right? We haven't seen moves like this in such a short amount of time ever before in crypto. And now that this is becoming a reality, yeah, these markets like the FX market that is $7.5 trillion per day, they are moving on chain. And it is happening all around the XRP ledger. And it's because of the efficiencies that the XRP, ledger has, which is XRP being that extremely efficient bridge currency between anything of value, any two things of value. So that's why I've always highlighted the fact that everything is moving on chain. Central banks are moving on chain. Fiat currencies are moving on chain. Stablecoins are being reinforced by governments like the US. We are watching everything align with ISO 22 rolling out. Banks mandate it to move on chain as well, because even with, the FDIC, the OCC, and the Fed giving the green light to banks, it's aligning with the entire time frame, right? And the time frame of ISO 22 is pretty much by the end of 2025, end of 2026, which by that time we will have global harmonized frameworks for crypto. Stablecoin legislation will already be in place. So everything is aligning. I do think that Ripple and XRP have been chosen. They're the two main ones that are always there at every single major, meeting, conference, you name it. Now, are they the only chosen ones? No. Hedera's also there. Stellar's also there. There's a few players from the space that I have zero doubt about. And, Ripple and XRP are two of those players. Now, outside of all of that, the UK, the digital pound. The digital pound is also becoming a reality. And what's crazy about this is Ripple also had a UK policy summit. They hosted this to discuss how the UK can solidify its position as a global leader in digital assets. With the upcoming regulatory framework, there's a huge opportunity to unlock growth from faster cross-border payments to the tokenization of financial markets. To succeed, we must act with urgency and develop a clear, risk-sensitive approach to regulation. It's time for the UK to lead the way in this fast-evolving sector. Again, what's crazy about this is Ripple is at the center point of anything happening around digital assets, around stablecoins, and around these specific markets like the UK, by the way, which is a huge giant around the FX market. They're always there. Ripple is always there. This is not a coincidence. In my opinion, we are going to see one of the biggest financial revolutions in history. Ripple and XRP will be a big piece of that revolution. And I do think that this is much bigger than what anyone really even knows. So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, Nick, thanks for watching. Peace out.